Well, hello, my name's Dan and I'm back with another video. Today I have an Asvine V169 in matte black, which is a vacuum filling fountain pen. With the metal overlay and everything in matte black. The nib is not coated black, but it's more like a ruthenium plating, but it has that, you know, what do you call it, dark chrome or whatever tone to it. Engraved Asvine there, and this is a medium nib. I haven't got it inked up at the minute because I was going to show you a couple of bits before I ink it up and do a writing sample. So let's just go through the pen quickly. Clip is also of the matte black and is reasonably flexible enough. You get a nice pinch point in there if you're popping that in a shirt pocket, but stiff enough to remain stable in said shirt pocket, if that was what you were doing. Screw cap comes off in just over 1.5, maybe 1 3/4. And then you've got that matte black section. So this is all the black you see is metal. It's got a nice feel to it, actually, nice texture, excuse me. And cap threads there. Here you've got, I'm not sure whether it's the primary or secondary ink chamber, but anyway, you've got an ink chamber here with a little ink window after your vacuum shut-off valve here, so that's what you've got to write with if you've got it in the closed position. So if you're doing a page of notes or something, you should be okay, but if you're going for a longer session, you will need to open up the valve there. It does post, although I won't say insecurely, it does post securely, but it posts onto that the vac piston turning knob there, and it makes it, well, wand doesn't quite cover it. It's more of an entire wizard, really, and that will back weight the pen in your hand a bit because the cap's all metal as well. However, unlike a piston, you don't have to worry too much about accidentally turning the knob if you did want to post it. I'm not a poster anyway, and that's a good enough size for me, but some people like to, and I get that. But so yeah, if you do, I mean, you might mark this a little bit, but you know, I'm sure you can brush that off. But you don't have to worry about that turning too much. Even if you do turn it, you're not going to propel ink onto your page instantly. So it is possible, as I say, vacuum filling pen. So to fill, you would unturn this knob, unturn, turn it that way, whatever you like. Pull that out, pop your nib in the bottle of ink, and push that down, creating your vacuum until you hear a pop, and that will release and fill your barrel up with ink. Then you would close that down, so then you've got a barrel of ink, and then ink in your primary chamber or secondary. I don't know which way around it is. This chamber here, yeah. So that will flow down to the nib, but the rest of the barrel will be shut off at this valve here. If while writing you need a bit more, you unscrew that, and then that will just open up between the ink chambers. For some measurements of the pen, here we have some measurements of the pen. So you've got capped, uncapped, and posted. As I say, that if you post that, that's large. It's large, yeah. It's really, really quite large. And it will back quite a little bit, but it is possible if that's your thing. Then weights. My scales are crap, they just don't add up, right? But these are approximately, you get the idea. So it's a good weighted pen. Certainly for me, in my hand, it sits really nicely. I find the balance really good, just sits there nicely in the crook of my hand. Then you've got that concave section there, which just comes in and flares out a little bit. So the section at the pinch point there is about 10mm, and the barrel about 13. Then just ever so slightly. It doesn't really taper until you get to the piston knob here, or the vac knob, when it's about 11. Got it? Nice. So a nice feature of this particular vac filler is this section does unscrew. So for cleaning, that makes it much easier than having to continuously fill up and flush out, fill up and flush out, etc., etc. You can still do that, but you could then get, I don't know, cotton bud or whatever you like down into that barrel and dry up your last bits of water and whatnot. I mean, you're never gonna, well, not never, but it's you're not gonna get it dry as a bone unless you leave it out for a couple of days or something like that, if you're going to store it. But you can certainly get a bit of whatever you like down there to clean that bit out, and then same in there, and you can get like a bulb syringe or something to flush your water through your nib for cleaning. Does make it very handy. You've got a nice little O-ring there for sealing, and you can pop some silicone grease on the threads there for extra sealing if you're doing this a lot. But does make the cleaning process much easier than apparently some other vacuum fillers where your section's not detachable. This is my first vacuum filler actually, so I found it quite nice to be able to take that section off for cleaning purposes. So let's look at a little size comparison with some other pens, and then I'll fill it up and do a writing sample, and then I'll tell you what I think about the whole thing. So here we have the Asvine V169 next to Leonardo Memento Zero Grande. So you can see it is a decently sized pen, a bit more girth in the Leonardo there, but and obviously a little bit longer, but it's a decent sized pen. And next to Jinhao X159, Moonman P136, the ubiquitous Lamy Safari, and then there's a Sailor Pro Gear regular there as well, just for some sizes. Okay, so let's get rid of these, and then we'll give this a fill up. Hopefully I'll be able to A, demonstrate how to fill it, and B, not piss ink everywhere while I'm doing so. So I'm going to fill it up with Roro and Klingner Magenta today, because I haven't used this one in a while, and also it's got a nice big neck in that ink bottle. So filling, unscrew that, pull that out, then put the nib down in the ink and push this down until it pops. Just hold that there for a second. There we can see, we will see, a nice barrel full of ink. Now you're about half full there, I suppose. Now what you can do is turn it upside down and get all your ink down to the bottom there, and pull the rod back down a bit. Now this is the risky bit where I'm going to cover my desk in ink, right? But so if you pull that down, right down. So, sorry, I went off camera there, but if you pull that, get ink on your fingers, pull that right down, then you've got your ink on top of your plunger, I suppose. And then gently, right, push this back up until, gently, yeah, sorry about the focus. I'm really trying not to pour ink all over my desk. Right, so if you can see, I've pushed that back down, so I've got all the ink up the top here. Now I'm going to put it back down in the ink and then press the rest of the way. And hopefully, there we go. So we've got nearly like the full barrel there filled up now. Careful if you're doing that, because there is the risk of obviously pushing the ink straight back out the nib. And go easy. Make sure you've got nothing around. You've got a nice view of my ink bottle there. It's good, isn't it? Make sure you've got nothing around that you're going to not want completely covered in ink. Okay, let's see how this writes. So just allow me my usual bit of fumbling, and let's see if we can focus nicely on this. Right, so what we have here is how's that? There we go. So the Asvine V1 2, no it's not, 136? 169. Do you know what? I don't know where my brain goes sometimes. I think it's out playing in the sun today, certainly not with me. So we have a medium steel nib, number 6 size, as I say, kind of ruthenium-esque, don't know if it is ruthenium, but esque plated. And the ink, as you saw, was Rora and Klingner. Magenta. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute. You know. This is a very nice smooth nib. Does just glide, to be honest. There's very minimal feedback, and while not gushingly wet, you do get a good flow in there. So no pressure, get your standard line, and then you can eke out a little bit, but it's a Chinese steel nib. It's a very nice Chinese steel nib, but it's not flexy by any means, but you can squeeze out a little bit there. Certainly wetting it up a little bit as well with a bit of pressure if you're careful. Yeah, flows very well. Tiny skip there. I was just going to say, I've never had it skip to date. I've had it as a work carry on and off for a couple of weeks, and it's always started up nicely and not giving me any bother. Let's do some fast. Nothing wrong with that. Nice. Or nicer. Nicer than what? Not sure. But nicer at any rate. So yeah, there's, oh come on, there's just a look at that nib. It is nice. You've got plastic feed, but yeah, it's a good flow, good writer, reliable, and a good weight in my hand. So if you like that kind of heavier pen, obviously you've got hang on, let me get rid of that, put my plain background back in there, get the hang of this one day. You've got a very big ink capacity if you do fill that whole barrel up. I mean, even then, it's pretty much full. Tiny space at the top there, but that's pretty much full. So as I was talking about, let me just open that up a second. So if you can see there, that chamber just kind of refreshed a little bit. Careful, because I've just accidentally pulled that knob out a bit, and you don't really want to do that while there's ink in there. But there, yeah, there's your chamber kind of loaded up, if you like. So that'll get you through some notes or, I don't know, colour pages, generally speaking. But if you're at longer session, you can just open this up and keep that open to flow through. The advantages of that shut-off valve is obviously if you're going to get a leak, it's not going to be the whole barrel emptying out. I've seen people mention handy for plane flights because you can just tip it the other way and let all the ink drain down into there and then shut that off. So if you've got pressure changes and stuff like that, or even if you're just bouncing it around in a bag, I suppose, and you're worried about the nib burping ink into your cap, you can do that if you know you're going to be on the road for a few hours, I suppose. Yeah, good all-rounder. So what do I like? Well, I find it easy to fill. You don't have to fill the whole barrel. You don't have to do that kind of double fill trick in order to get the whole barrel full. Half a barrel is going to be a pretty decent amount and for most purposes, but it's easy to fill. I find it a good weight for me personally. As I say, that kind of fits there nicely. It just, the weight kind of just really balances out nicely and sits in the crook of my hand there. I find that section comfortable, good length for me as well. It's just a good all-round size, I suppose. I like the matte black look. I like the texture of that as well. It's a nice matte feel to it. There's a little bit of texture there. So this isn't a slippery section with the metal. You've got that kind of coating there. I like the kind of ruthenium-esque colour of the nib. Sometimes you get a black coating on a matte black pen, like the black coloured coating rather than your dark chrome ruthenium look. You get a black coloured look. I think I prefer this, to be honest. I know it doesn't quite match up, so that's your call. There's other matte black things available with a black nib, or you could always go and get a black nib and pop it in. But I quite like that. It's very smooth. There's minimal feedback on that, and I like a nice smooth writer. Anything not to like? Yeah, there is a couple of bits. So these threads here, if I can try and explain it, if you caress it, stroke it this way, yes, that's not bad. They're quite smooth in that direction. However, if you brush your thumb or finger down that way, that does catch a bit. That does become, I wouldn't say sharp, but you definitely feel it. So if you're going to have like your resting finger under there, I feel that. That I have done that a little bit. I've kind of adjusted my resting finger a bit lower down, and it's perfectly comfortable. But if you are going to grip anywhere on here, you might feel that. That's a little bit sharp. Well, not sharp, but you definitely feel it pronounced, maybe. I don't find that the most. You've got the metal threads going onto the plastic here. I don't find it as smooth as you like. It's okay. It's functional. but that's not the most pleasant screw cap closure mechanism I've ever come across. And one last thing, I'm aware I'm droning on a bit now. So I do find if I need to top up my primary chamber, if I unscrew this, as you meant to, just unscrew it, it should kind of release that enough to dribble ink through to. I have found that it doesn't quite release that seal, and I have to just ease the rod up, just like, not much, like just a millimetre, but even then, if you then put that back down, you're in danger of burping a bit of ink out just with that extra little bit of movement in there, I have found. It's okay. It might just be mine. It might just, yeah, I don't know. It's not a massive deal breaker for me, but it's just something to be aware of. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for Not Likes. Price wise, I got this off Amazon in the UK for, I think it's about 35. I've seen them available between 30 and 40 pounds, or your international equivalents. That's including the postage off Amazon. But yeah, I've seen them around for much of a muchness. AliExpress, Etsy, various other places. So it's a good deal. It's a good all-round pen for that, I find. Like I say, you've got that weightiness and all the things I've already nattered about, because I'm going into the plus 20 minutes point now. So I'll stop droning on. But it's a good all-round pen. I find it a good everyday carry. Like I say, you've got the benefit of being able to lock that off if you're worried about leakage. But I haven't had any. Good value, I think. And I should be using that a lot more. I think it's a pleasant writer. Well, I hope you vaguely enjoyed this and you have a lovely day with whatever you're doing. And take it easy. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.